What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first edition of our podcast Around the Diamond. I'm Tyler Suarez, your host, along with my co-host Nathan Pohla. Nathan, how we doing, my brother?
Doing good, doing good. How about yourself?
Man, baseball season is around the corner. I'm excited for our off season. Has been crazy, and dominated by my lovely Dodgers. And with the Chiefs
Yeah,
winning this
yeah,
championship in
yeah,
the
yeah,
background, you can go
yeah.
fuck yourself. But you know what? I'll leave it be. I mean, what are the thoughts on some of the offseason acquisitions, especially players moving around like Max Scherzer and Juan Soto going to the New York Mets on a huge deal, and it's just crazy to me that a guy that's going to basically be like the next David Ortiz is hitting in for 15 years, almost $800 million.
Yeah. Juan Soto, generational type player. Like generational type.
Keep in mind, he's represented by Scott Boras.
well, yeah. I mean, unbelievable player. Now, I think was it an overpay? Maybe. I think so. I still think that you have to if you're in the position that Stephen Cohen was in, I think you have to over because you weren't getting him if you didn't overpay. You just weren't.
You are right, but I mean, if you look at it from the Yankees' perspective, they kind of overall won losing Juan Soto. They got Max Fried for 8 years. They brought in Devin Williams, Cody Bellinger with the trade with the Cubs, Paul Goldschmidt re-signed Lasagna, Tim Hill re-signed. They brought in Carrasco on a short-term, minor league deal. Who's
Yeah.
still coming back? Like, overall, in my opinion, I think the Yankees won this lopsided kind of deal, and obviously they lost a lot more, like Clay Holmes and Glaber. That's true. Tommy Kaling, just throw a few names out there, but it's like those are just kind of minor guys they can rebuild around.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy that they can let someone go like that and still rebuild. And to say the least, I mean, obviously, what they got manhandled by the Dodgers in the World Series, but guess what? They're still looking to come back and try and be a provided like off-season talent and
Of
get back to
course.
the promised land
Of
than
course.
before, of course, like that.
Yeah, I mean Max Fried. I think that was also a little bit of an overpay because he has shown to have some injury issues in the past, and I think 8 years for a guy who's what like going into his age 31 or 32 season. I think that might have been a little much. I think the back half of that contract is going to be a little bit rough. Not gonna lie.
Well, for Max Fried, it's came out to an 8-year, $218 million deal with a $20 million signing bonus, and he has no opt out and is a UFA until 2033. Full no trade clause or anything like that, of course, until they want to do something with him or like send him off somewhere else if he's just
Yeah.
having an outright bad season. But
Yeah.
after I think this is honestly a good deal for the Yankees, and even coming off that Rendon contract, well, not coming off it, but being in that Rendon contract, and he's not really showing much, in my opinion. He's still a better left-handed person than I would say Rendon, and bulking into that starting rotation as well to help them get over that hump.
Yeah, I mean, at least for the next few years, it is going to be a good deal. Where I have a problem with the contract is just in like the back half. I think the front half is gonna like the first 4 or maybe even 5 years is gonna be great for the Yankees. Now the last 3, I don't know what you're necessarily going to be getting because pitchers, and unless you're just someone like Verlander or Scherzer, you're gonna start to taper off once you get into like your mid to upper nine or 30s.
I don't think Scherzer's signed yet, is he?
No, he signed with the Blue Jays.
No, Scherzer. I was thinking Verlander for some reason.
Verlander went to the Giants.
Oh, that's right. And then they got Willie Adames up there in shortstop too. I mean, the Giants. So don't get me wrong. The Dodgers have, without a doubt, haunted everybody in this free agent market. Like just to name a few guys, with Blake Snell, Roki, Teoscar bringing back Tanner Scott, Ha-Sung Kim, Kirby Yates, a lot of guys, and they only lost 3 people, and yet they still have a lot of guys out there who saved their postseason, like Kike, Brett Honeywell, like even Kershaw, who wants to be a Dodger and retire that way, is still out on the board, and it's crazy to me. Obviously, growing up watching Clay Kershaw, that he's still out there, but who
Yeah.
knows what's going to happen? He might go back home in Dallas, but who knows?
I mean, he's been signing 1 year deals with the Dodgers for like the last 3 years. I don't really see any reason for that to change.
Yeah. Again, he's I think almost turning 38. And he's still dealing with that toe surgery. It's just
I think he's going into. I want to say he's going into like his age 37 season or something like that.
around there, yeah. And it's been plagued by him, but at the same time, what can you not love about Clayton Kershaw? Clayton
Yeah.
Kershaw's the guy. And jumping off of the Dodger bandwagon, and my favorite team, New York Mets, as you said, as we started, Juan Soto coming on that 15-year deal, and then they re-signed reportedly a 2-year deal with Peter Alonso coming back to the New York Mets. I mean, why did it take him that long? First of all, and second of all, I was very on the verge of like, yeah, he's just gonna leave. He's done with the done playing around with the Mets.
Well, here's my take on it, and I actually saw this take by another MLB YouTuber, I Talk Studios. Shout out to him. Um, and he actually made a good point though. He said that first basemen are starting to get valued less and less every single year. And it makes sense because the Red Sox, for example, tried to trade Tristan Casas to the Mariners twice and were rejected both times. And Scott Boras made a comparison to what Pete Alonso was asking for to the contract that Prince Fielder signed with, I believe it was the Tigers, where it was like 9 years, 200 something. And it teams just aren't willing to give out those sort of contracts to first basemen anymore.
Yeah, and it's I like to think it's sort of the same way with third baseman. Like Alex Bregman is still on the board, for God's sake.
Yeah, like
again, it is. I mean, my biased opinion, Scott Boras is just he's just out for the money. But
oh yeah,
like,
I think that too.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, Bregman. Don't get me wrong. Through his Astros tenure, like astounding third baseman, a great piece of that Astros dynasty.
Phenomenal player.
From 2017 to 22 or 23, I believe. But you've watched him a lot, so you can say on that.
Yeah.
But the Astros and as well have come out publicly and said they don't even think they can get a contract done for what he's asking. I believe it was last reported it was a 6-year deal or something like that. He wanted.
Well, I actually saw. I think it was. I want to say it was either Michael Schwab or Chandler Rome, who are two of the Astros beat reporters, the other day on Twitter. I saw that that the Astros and Alex Bregman were actually in contract discussions again, and the Astros offered him another contract, which Bregman also declined.
I don't even know what they want at this rate.
I don't know either, because originally Bregman was asking for, I believe, like 7 years, 200 million. I don't even.
He's about to go at age 31, though.
Yeah, I know. And I think, and I mean, even with the Astros 6-year, $156 million contract offer, that's like 26 million a year. I think that's extremely fair for a player of Bregman's caliber.
I don't know, to be honest with you. Like, and there has been some decline with Bregman as we've seen. Like,
Yeah,
he's dealt with the injuries. He's dealt with those pains in his, I believe, his leg and his sides or abdomen or something like that.
But I mean, at the end of the day, he has stayed healthy for the last 3 years, and he's still capable of putting up an OPS around 850, 25 homers, 90 RBIs. Like, he's still a phenomenal player, and he walks more than he strikes out. Amazing defense at third base. He's a phenomenal player.
The only thing I could see changing, especially with this swing, is obviously being a right-handed hitter. And Minute Maid, well, now called, I believe, Dakin Field or something like that.
I'm not calling it that.
Rest in peace, Minute Maid.
I'm not calling it. I'm not calling it Dakin, bro. I'm not.
Yeah, rest in peace, Minute Maid. But that left field Crawford box where he could just get that smooth. He didn't even need a lot of power.
Yeah, I know.
Like, so I don't understand if he's gonna ask for this much money and say he goes to like. I know this is not gonna happen, but say when Oakland was still a team and back in Sacramento, back in Oakland with their field, pretty big field. Or say Coors, for example, which is a pretty hitter-friendly park.
I would go more along the lines of saying maybe the Tigers, because he has been linked to the Tigers, and the Tigers have a ginormous outfield.
That's right.
And
with AJ Hinch.
Yeah, and I feel like the Crawford boxes, not that Bregman can't put up good numbers just by himself, but I feel like the Crawford boxes definitely helped his power numbers a bit.
It's a very, very hitter-friendly park. Well, I like to think of it as Coors Field 2.0, but Yordan Alvarez can send it to the third deck.
Oh, yeah. He has done that before.
He has. I mean, he's what do they call it? The Dominican Ted Williams or something like that.
David Ortiz.
Maybe, yeah. I'm not even sure. Sticking to the Astros as well, they lost. They acquired actually Christian Walker, Isaac Paredes, Aiden Wesnecki, and they re-signed Ben Gamble to 1 year. But
I did see that.
I think their subtractions and their acquisitions do not align at all. They dealt with the first base problem, which is completely fine. Trading away Tucker, not even attempting to get Yusei back. Verlander walking is fine, but even Ryan Presley getting traded to the Cubs too. I don't know. It didn't really sit well for me.
Interesting story about Ryan Presley. I have been hearing that after the Astros signed Josh Hader last offseason, he kind of became a locker room cancer-ish kind of guy, because he did not appreciate getting taken out of the closer role, and even though he came out and said that he wants to do whatever he can to help the team win.
Well, that's just in front of media.
Yeah, obviously, but clearly his actions did not show that, and he kind of was becoming kind of a locker room cancer. So I mean, I'm kind of okay with him being traded, because you don't want someone like that in your locker room.
You don't at all, and I completely understand that. It's just the way I've been seeing it. Obviously, he's been a part of this dynasty for the last 4 years, I think. At least
longer than that. We traded for him in 2018.
Yeah, exactly. So he's been a part of this organization. The World Series runs closing out Game 7, and he's just been there. He's been there and done that. I thought this was going to be the guy for the next 2 years, 3 years that they're going to lock up with Hader and put him as a setup, put him as a closer, like a 1-2 punch kind of deal.
And I mean, to counter that, it's not necessarily like the Astros are losing a really good setup guy, because now you can just put Brian Abreu in that role, who I would argue is a better relief pitcher than Ryan Presley at this point in their careers.
Well, I mean, Presley obviously is older than Abreu, and Abreu can just throw straight gas, but gas could only take you so far. We see it almost every day. Hell, Aroldis Chapman can throw 102, but guess what? That thing's still going to get hit by the barrel, and you're going to get that either as a hit, a home run, whatever it is.
I mean, if you look at Brian Abreu's numbers, though, very, very good numbers. He had a bit of a down year last year, but I mean, so did Josh Hader. I'm not really too worried, but if you look at his numbers are very, very good.
Overall, according to Baseball Savant, his last 3 years from 22 to 2024, an ERA total of 2.75 with 247 games and 9 saves total. So yeah, he's got the it's like you're saying, he's got great stats, but at the end of the day, especially as a former player myself, it's just pitching can only take you so far. There's only to a point where you can't just use the fastball to beat people anymore. They're gonna catch up to that. They're gonna get away with hitting it. And then what do you fall back with?
He's got a wicked slider though.
Again, though, say he doesn't have the slider that day, and he's like Nestor Cortez, and he just keeps dropping it below the zone, gets past the catcher, his changeup,
that's the risk you have to take with a lot of relievers, because typically relievers aren't guys that have this crazy pitch arsenal that can choose between 4, 5, 6 different pitches. So I mean that's the risk you take with a lot of relievers at the end of the day.
It is, and we see it. I mean, with the amount of talent that comes through the minor league prospect system is just crazy Like
Oh yeah,
Ben
absolutely.
Joyce is a great example of this. Is a tall dude, can throw 104.
Drafted out of
He's just
Tennessee,
got
actually.
exactly like he's got a lot of firepower. But again, like
He,
that fire can power can take you so far.
I mean, he notched it up to 106 at one point last year. That's absurd. 106. You're humans are not supposed to do that.
I mean, the game progressively, and I'm sure a lot of younger guys, when they see 102, it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to hit that? But a lot of these players train nowadays to learn to hit 100 miles per hour. Like
No, yeah, of course.
I go to the batting cages sometimes and talk with some players here at Tennessee as well, and they even say like, hey, like you have to train your mind to be ready for 101, 102, something like that, because you never know what's coming, or even 98. Like you have
Yeah,
to be ready for
yeah.
these 100-mile-per-hour pitchers. And that's what the league wants nowadays is just fast pitches and home run balls.
I mean, it's like the way baseball's evolved. It's like offensively, it's it MLB has evolved into more of a three true outcome kind of sport: strikeout, walk, home run. Like average isn't really looked in the same way as it was back like 30 years ago. And pitching, like again back like 30 years ago, instead when they were using like finesse and deception, like kind of like modern day guys like Zach Greinke and Mike Soroka, you are just throwing straight gas. And another something else I have to say about this is that like let's say you're in high school, if you like by the time you're in high school, if you can't at least touch like into the upper 80s on your fastball, you're not even going to get recruited.
That's the sad truth about it. But I've said this to multiple people. Guys in high school should not be signing no matter what. I mean, it's good for them. Like obviously, like yeah, you say you signed with the Dodgers right
I
out of
mean,
high school.
it's
Oh my
guaranteed
gosh.
money.
Exactly. But the thing is that I love to preach is that these kids are what 17, something like that, coming out of high school. They don't even know the real world yet. They don't know what contracts are. They're just they're just there to play ball. But
That's
their
that's
talent
that's
and
true.
their talent and their development hasn't fully kicked in yet.
Speaking of which, funny story. Someone that I believe was in the same graduating class as me, or she might have graduated last year. I don't remember. She played at my high school on my high school softball team. She actually was dating a guy that signed with the Dodgers out of high school. I don't know exactly what he's up to now. I don't know if he's still in the Dodgers organization. I just thought that was interesting.
Oh yeah, I knew a guy before I started playing high school ball. A guy I knew named Jordan Groshans, and I got to meet him too and talk to him. Jumped around, signed out of high school. Adam Kloffstein came from my high school too, and these guys just signed right out of high school, but they can't even crack the major league roster. I know Groshans. He went from the Blue Jays to the Yankees to the Marlins, Athletics, back to the Yankees. Like these guys signing out of high school, they just don't know what they're doing.
Well, I mean,
I strongly
here's the sad thing about Jordan Groshans. He was a very highly touted prospect at one point. Like he was in the top 100 for like several straight years,
Oh yeah,
and then he
he
dropped.
was a baller.
Yeah, and then he dropped out, and then he got a chance at the majors, and really has not done a whole lot with that opportunity.
And obviously, you can't blame them. I mean, they're just there to play ball.
Yeah,
Like you can't blame them. But when you go and say like Joe Adell, for example, he's the next Mickey Mantle. All the things they were saying about him prior to him being at the league, you shouldn't just be saying that in general
yeah,
until he gets there. Like Mike Trout, nobody knew who this kid was, and if you watch the story and all that stuff about Mike Trout coming out of New Jersey and being signed, like hell, even Clayton Kershaw again too, but obviously taking two different eras.
yeah.
Coming out of high school in Dallas and then him in New Jersey for Mike Trout, like nobody knew who these guys were, but they just grew into generational talent, and the coaches as well, helped them proceed long ways into their careers. And unfortunately, Trout and Kershaw obviously dealt with health issues, but still, I mean,
Yeah.
they have chances to unanimous Hall of Famers.
Oh, absolutely. I personally, I think they should both be first ballot without a doubt.
Oh yeah, it blows my mind. Ichiro, CC, and all that missing one vote off, and all that. Like I question the writers sometimes, so I'm wondering why they just don't give them the unanimous.
Well, I mean, the writers even they. I mean, Billy Wagner, for Lord's sake, almost got snubbed out of the Hall of Fame, and it's because of the writers, which I think is so dumb. And like another thing, like Barry Bonds, I understand why they wouldn't vote for a guy like Barry Bonds. I just think it's dumb because everybody in that era did the exact same thing as him.
So did A-Rod, and he's on the ballot.
Yeah, and personally, this might not go over well with everybody, but I think A-Rod should be in the Hall of Fame too.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie with you. As a fan, it would be nice to see, but it's the thing. It's like same thing what happened with Pete Rose, and God rest his soul for passing away. Shout out to the Pete Rose family, the incredible people. Um, and Pete Rose himself, a funny guy, but him not being able to make the Hall of Fame because of his gambling addiction. Yet we have C.J. Abrams staying at 8 a.m. In Washington at a casino is crazy, and he's not banned from baseball.
I mean,
So
the worst punishment he got was he got sent down to the minors at the end of the year. And I guarantee you, he's going to make the Nationals opening day roster. Because I mean, why wouldn't he? He's the best shortstop they have in their system.
Who knows? And again, it's all these things that they want to be critical on, and they want to say, "Oh, this is bad for the game," but yet they still allow these players to play. Like I can even bring up the domestic abuse part. Like Marcelo Ozuna is still playing, and yet he's
Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah, they've all had cases against him, but yet they still play. So who knows? I'm not in the commissioner's office. I can't say anything, but what do I know?
I actually want to get your opinion on something though. What are you feeling like is gonna be like who are your sleeper teams for next season?
Ooh, sleeper teams. I won't lie with you, man. So I think the Astros, they're good. Don't get me wrong, and I know your Stros. Like we've talked about them almost every day, but don't get me wrong. With the way these Angels are coming out swinging in this free agency, I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong. They may be busts like Travis D'Arnaud. You say being an awful pick.
The Angels are gonna finish. The Angels are gonna finish last, bro. The Angels are not.
I don't know. That's the thing. Like you never know, and I'm in my mind with these picks. Like anything can happen, So coming out of the West, I would say the Angels would be a big sleeper team.
I think the A's are a bigger sleeper team than
that's what I was gonna say too. Yeah, even the A's, bringing in
the A's. Loki got some ballers on that team, dude.
Yeah, but I think I don't think the A's are gonna make it far. The only reason why I would say they're even in talks is because they just moved to Sacramento, and not only that, they actually did something with their money.
I mean, they gave an extension to Brent Rooker, who I mean, good for him. He deserved it.
Yeah. Now the Mariners, I don't think they're gonna do anything. But I mean, another big team, I think, and I think they're also coming back to take the West, is the Rangers.
I don't know.
I mean, if you look at their acquisitions, they got a lot of guys.
They had the thing. I don't really have. I mean, I do have question marks about their offense. Like, is Adolis going to bounce back? Is Evan Carter and all the other injured players going to be able to stay healthy? And even when Evan Carter was healthy, he wasn't playing well. So are they going to be able to play well? And their pitching is a big question mark. Like, their number one guy is going to be who? Nathan Eovaldi?
Most likely, yeah. But I think their prospects, they're going to lean on Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker a lot this next coming season after their.
But even, I mean, I know it was a very, very small sample size, but even Jack Leiter, when he got a stint up in the majors last year, not good.
From what I've seen, they've worked on his mechanics and also his pitch grips and his arm angle, so expect some change coming to spring training.
Like, I think the Rangers are a very, very talented team, and they definitely have the talent to win the West. But I mean,
I'm not saying they might win the West. I honestly still think the Astros might win the West.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing.
But they're going to be a wild card team for sure.
Well, here's the thing about the Astros. The Astros are just so, I'm not going to say so talented, but they are so experienced and they have enough talent to where I really don't know why so many people aren't even having them in their conversations to even like barely even squeak into the playoffs.
Yes.
And I mean, I know the Astros rotation right now is not the best, but I mean, I believe one is Fromber, and then two is Brown, then Blanco, and I can't remember who the four. Oh, Arrighetti and Wisniewski. That I still think that's a pretty solid rotation. Now, obviously, I think there might be some regression with Ronel Blanco next year because he walked so many guys.
Yeah,
but
even to stay on the. I'm sorry, go on.
But like even Spencer Arrighetti, his second half last season was so incredibly good. He was so good in the second half. I think he could be a very, very good pitcher. And Hayden Wisniewski, he showed with the Cubs that he can be a good pitcher. And that's not even to mention the amount of injuries the Astros have to their pitching. Like Javier's on the IL, Luis Garcia's on the IL, Lance McCullers is on the IL.
Yeah, that's a name I've heard in a while.
I mean, Lance McCullers, man, I want to see him back on the mound.
I won't lie, that was the one dude from 2017 I really enjoyed.
He is such a good pitcher. He just cannot stay healthy, and it sucks because he's so good.
Staying in the AL though, I want to get your thoughts on the Orioles. You know, they brought in Tyler O'Neill on a 3-year deal, and they just signed a bunch of 1-year guys. After their brutal playoffs last year, you know, winning the Central or East, sorry, not the East. But yeah, they won the East, I believe.
Yeah, the East.
Yeah.
Well, no, they didn't win the East. They were a wild card.
Okay, I'm throwing everything out there.
Yankees won the East.
Yankees won the East. They got the wild card spot, and everyone thought they were going to be this big mega team going into it. They were going to take the Royals, but they just got shut out. They didn't even put a performance. So, you know, bringing in Tyler O'Neill, obviously Gary Sanchez, which is a pick.
He's gonna be a
guy for sure.
bench bat.
Yeah, and then you know you brought in some pitching with Andrew Kittredge, that's how I say it. Charlie Morton, and they brought in the Cardinals rookie from 2019, I believe, who got called up, Dylan Carlson. I mean, switching that. Yeah, they required Carlson. I didn't actually know this. He was on the Rays at one
point. I did know that. I did not know he was on the Orioles right now, though.
Yeah, they signed him a couple of days ago, and it's honestly shocking to me again. Like, he was this big guy, like Nolan Gorman with him coming out of St. Louis, and then now it's just kind of a bust.
I don't know how I feel about Dylan Carlson. Like, the Rays are known for taking players that aren't very good or don't get much opportunity somewhere else and making them into at least serviceable players that can add value to your team. The Rays were not able to get anything out of Dylan Carlson, so there is still something there. I think I just don't know if it's going to be able to be unlocked, because if the Rays can't do it, I don't know if anyone can.
Yeah, and jumping into our last AL team before we jump into the NL, the Blue Jays making a splash. I mean, they got Anthony Santander. They obviously brought in Max Scherzer, as we commented before. Yimi Garcia bringing a 3-year deal to Jeff Hoffman, who reinvented himself as a relief pitcher. Good for him, to be honest with you. And then they traded for a gold, or I believe a platinum glove, if I'm correct, Andres Jimenez from Cleveland. Like, oh my gosh, you got your second baseman right there.
I love Andres Jimenez. His offensive numbers aren't that good. I'm still hanging on to 2022 Andres Jimenez, just hoping he can get back to that form offensively at least. I'm a big fan of Andres Jimenez. I really liked that move. Anthony Santander, good player. I don't think he really moves the needle that much, and it's the same with Max Scherzer. I don't think he moves the needle much. I think the Blue Jays could be a team that could hover around 500. maybe sneak into
Yeah,
the
they're the
playoffs.
Blue Jays. Don't forget that.
Maybe sneak into the playoffs. I don't really see them as like this huge threat because their pitching, their starting pitching is one injury away from being an absolute train wreck. And aside from the top 4 or 5 guys in the Blue Jays lineup, there really isn't a whole lot there.
Yeah. Moving on to the National League now. Since you asked me about the American League, who you got for the National League?
So, what questions you got for me?
Who's your sleepers, bro? Let me get them.
Some sleepers. Some sleepers.
I already got one in mind.
I I think the Reds are some sleepers.
Wow.
Pacoda actually had the Reds finishing last in the NL Central.
Pretty weak division, though. Be real.
It is a weak division, but do you really think they're going to finish behind the Pirates and the Cardinals?
Okay, the Cardinals, I see them finishing behind, or not behind, sorry, above the Cardinals. But the Pirates,
The Pirates could also be another sleeper team. The
don't
issue
get me wrong,
the issue
Pirates,
the issue with the Pirates, aside from Brian Reynolds and O'Neal Cruz, there's not really much there offensively. And I mean, the pitching, aside, like, not really mentioning the bullpen because the bullpen's kind of meh, but the Pirates starting pitching, oh my goodness, that starting pitching is
Spencer Jones and Paul Skeens.
that starting pitching is going to be unbelievable.
Yes. So
I think the Pirates are starting to figure out something with pitching development because my goodness.
I fully agree with Pirates being a sleeper team. I think they'll end up above St. Louis. They won't end up. I don't think they'll end up above the Reds, but it's hit or miss. They might, just might, depending on how the Cubs play their cards. Cubs being, trading for Tucker. They got Matthew Boyd, Ryan Presley from the Astros, Eli Morgan, Carson Kelly. Like, they got a haul. And they got a haul with the Dodgers. They brought in a lot of guys from the Yankees and Marlins organization. And signing contract overall, too. So, if the Cubs play their cards right, they can end up first in the Central. But I think the Pirates and Reds are going to fight with them.
I think there are 3 legitimate teams that could win that division. I think the Brewers could win. I think the Cubs could win. And I
don't think the Brewers at all. The Brewers are last place in my book.
Really? Last place? Wow.
After what they did last year and losing in the wild card, and then they lost not only Devin Williams and Willie Adames, they lost their. Granted, obviously Frankie Montas, but Frankie had a good year with the Brewers, and then Gary Sanchez, which we talked about before, never really, it was whatever. But they just never really added on to that core with Jackson Churio. All they brought in was Esther Grant Anderson, who would even names I don't even recognize.
Here's something about the Brewers that I will tell you. The Brewers operate a lot like the Rays. A lot like the Rays. I don't think I would have the Brewers finishing in first place, but I would not be surprised if they did finish in first place.
I just don't think it's gonna be a weird year for the. It's the same thing like the AL Central. The NL Central, AL Central probably go hand in hand a little bit, except you have the White Sox in the AL Central. But as well, again, it's a hit or miss. Like I see the Cubs honestly running away with it with the talent they have, but if they play their cards right and don't falter around the 500 mark, then they can get in as a wild card team or even win the NL Central. Or I see the Reds catching them. I see the Pirates maybe sneaking in to the playoffs. I mean, those are my top 3 teams. The Cardinals, Jack. No, they didn't even show anything last year. Brewers, they made it to the wild card. They were anticipated to pass on against the Mets. But guess what? They absolutely blew it. And they didn't even add anyone this offseason to even address it. They got rid of Devin Williams, too. They let Willie walk. So where's this star power going to come from other than Jackson Churio?
That's a fair point. I think this team might surprise you at being a sleeper pick. Maybe, and I don't think they're necessarily going to make the playoffs because they are in a very, very good division. But the Nationals.
I don't know about the Nationals, to be honest with you.
I like what the Nationals are doing. They got Nathaniel Lowe at first, and then you got Luis Garcia at second, CJ Abrams at short, Caber. I don't know what you're
The
getting with Caber.
Nationals, in my mind, is just like, I mean, that 2019 skid they had was just a phenomenal run. Don't get me wrong. They had a great team. They played like they meant it. But then after that World Series hangover, it was just back to rebuilding. So they, obviously got Mike Soroka coming over there after all the injuries he's dealt with. And then they got that top prospect from the Padres as well, who just, Mackenzie Gore. They got him, who has not handled, same with, with Caber, like you said, Caber Ruiz. But they still have a lot of young talent to go through this depth and this roster that are going to try and prove themselves. Like Dylan Cruz, for example, and we've seen what he can do already. Even what's his name? Not Josh Bell, James Woods.
Yeah, James Wood. James
Like
Wood. James Wood.
There's a lot of young talent on this Nationals team, and I don't think they're ready for playoffs yet.
No, I didn't say. I said I thought that they weren't going to make the playoffs. I mean, partially because of the reason their division is just so good. But I mean, I think they could maybe hover around 500 and finish around that mark at the end of the year.
I mean, if they have a positive record, then let them have a positive record. Like, good for them. That's a good winning year. Or that's a good year to bring the fans in and have a good time. But again, it's like I said, I don't expect them to be even hovering. Like, I expect them at least 400. That's modest. I'll give them that. Like 430. I'm like, I can kind of see it. But once you start bringing out 500 or like 489 or something like that, I'm like, I don't see it. I'm sorry, I don't see it.
All I'm telling you is that a lot of sleeper teams I pick in the preseason end up finishing pretty well. So that's all I'm gonna say.
So when we get close to wrapping up now we're gonna really probably piss some people off. Now, my bias, obviously, you probably already know this, and I don't want you to be biased because I don't know about the Astros, but who are your already very early World Series picks?
The AL is so wide open. The AL, I think like 5 different teams from the American League could make it. Like the AL is so wide open. I think it's really only down to like 2 teams in the National League. I could see like 5 different teams from the American League making it.
Oh yeah, and it's, again, we don't know how this season's gonna go, and with all the acquisitions that every team's made, it's crazy to think that, say, this random team just gets there. But I'll throw my picks out there. Obviously, diehard Dodger, but you know what? It's my unbiased opinion too. Miguel Rojas went on the Talking Baseball podcast, and he says it's an expectation for them to win 120 games now. It's no longer they.
Honestly, the crazy thing about that take, I don't even disagree with it.
Exactly.
I don't even disagree with it.
It's expected for the Dodgers to win 120 games with the amount of star power they have. But coming out of the AL, you know what I think will happen? I think it's going to be a battle between the Red Sox and the Yankees. Yeah.
Whoa, the Red Sox! Wow.
I think the Red Sox are going to make a push.
The Red Sox. I did not see that one coming.
It's going to be the Yankees and Red Sox.
Oh my goodness!
Again, and then one of those two is going to face off against LA.
Oh my gosh!
The Red Sox. It's going to be a 2018 rematch, or it's going to be a 2024 rematch.
Oh my goodness! The Red Sox.
That's my honest pick, because like the Red Sox, they picked up Garrett Crochet, they brought in Walker Buehler, Roldis Chapman, Patrick Sandoval. They got some decent guys, but who knows what they can add on at the All-Star break or winter meeting, or not winter meeting, excuse me. The trade deadline. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, they already got talent. They got Rafi already playing third base. They got a lot of good talent. Tristan Koss, like you said before, and Jerry Duran. Like, they got some good guys. But the thing is, will they get over that 500 mark to take over the AL East?
It's at the end of the day, it's going to come down to that starting pitching and especially the bullpen. So that bullpen is not
They
very
brought they
good.
Chapman. So I mean, say that as you will, but I think that's still a good pickup.
It's a good move, but I mean, outside of Chapman, like who are you really relying on?
That is true. But again, like you said, the AL is just. I agree with you. It's kind of wide open. Like the Blue Jays, we've seen it. They've gone and done the playoff push, and yet they falter at the end. Same with the Mariners, but the Mariners haven't done much this offseason to prove to me that they're even remotely close to a playoff team. And obviously that can change going into the All-Star break, but what do I know? But again, just looking at things how they are right now and right this second on February 8th of 2025, I really genuinely think it's going to be a Red Sox Yankees fight to get to the World Series and beat LA. And don't get me wrong, like the Padres are going to try and fight the Dodgers. That's going to be, and the D-backs too. Don't get me wrong. Like they're going to try and fight the Dodgers, but overall, with all the talent the Dodgers have and everything like that, I think that they're just going to pummel them right there. And don't get me wrong, it could be like last year where the Padres had like a 3-1 series lead, and the next thing you know, the Dodgers just come sprawling back. And one of the greatest moments I've ever seen in Dodger history.
Oh man. So my pick for the American League or the National League, I'm not gonna say, even though the Dodgers are without a doubt the overwhelming favorite, I have seen them choke so bad in the playoffs before. And
It tends to happen.
I think people are really underestimating the Braves. I really do. Because
That's sneaky.
think
That's
about
sneaky.
it. The Braves were a walking hospital last year, and they still made the playoffs.
Well, granted, they didn't really.
Well, I
They
mean,
didn't even.
they
They didn't
did
touch the.
they didn't do much because they had nobody. They're gonna get Ronald Acuna Jr. back at some point. They hopefully will have Austin Riley for a full year. Matt Olson has he can't be any worse than he was last year. Ozzy Albies should be healthy. Sean Murphy should be better.
But again,
And like
they haven't.
they're getting Spencer Strider back too. Not to
They
mention
are. Yes.
they still have Spencer Schwellenbach, Ronaldo Lopez, Chris Sale.
They have a good core. I will agree with you, but they're not bringing in more talent than they should be doing. You know what I mean? They
Wait,
only bring in Jurickson Profar.
here's the thing about the Rays offseason. I
And
don't.
also, no, hold on. Sorry to keep bugging you, but like they're in a division stacked with the Phillies and Mets too. You got to think about that. So say the least,
Well, I
if
mean,
they can even
The
make it.
Dodgers are also in a division with the Padres, Giants, and Diamondbacks.
Okay, the Giants ain't going nowhere. First of all,
The Giants are
second of all,
the Giants are still going to be a solid team.
oh, they're gonna be solid, but they ain't even. They're not gonna do what they did in 2019, I believe. Or no,
2021.
yeah, 2021. There you go. Thank you. Like they're gonna do that again, where they basically beat the West, and we have to come play them after the wild
Well,
card
yeah,
game.
I'm not saying they're like even going to make the playoffs, but they're gonna be in at least
Like I said,
they're going to be at
yeah,
least in the playoff conversation, I think.
they're gonna fight. Like I said before, like the Diamondbacks, the Padres, they will fight for a playoffs against the Dodgers. They
Hmm.
want that matchup. But the thing is that with the firepower the Dodgers have, the amount of talent that organization has brought in, and what they already did against the Padres last year, I think it's just a no-brainer pick. Obviously, I don't know. I can't predict the future. I don't even know what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But say it's going to be Padres and Arizona in the wild card game. What am I to say that's not going to happen?
So my NL pick, it's down between the Dodgers and the Braves. I'm not counting the Dodgers out necessarily, but I've seen crazier chokes.
Oh man.
Cough cough 2022.
Oh, that was a big choke job.
And
Lance Lynn, I'll never forgive him.
the American League, oh man. The Astros, I mean, I know they got eliminated in the wild card last year. I just
Now,
don't.
do you think as well though? Tigers will try and make a splash at the trade deadline and make a push.
That's something that I was thinking. I think the Tigers are one of like those 5 teams that could make it because the Tigers are very. I think the Tigers are very.
Look what they did last year. Like they went on a chaos run and they weren't even meant to be there.
Man, like
they almost made it to the ALCS against the Yankees.
Yeah, they did.
Like that's crazy.
And hear me out. This might get me in trouble with whatever viewers we get on this video, but I don't think the Yankees are going to be like that great, at least on the offensive side on the baseball, because after losing Juan Soto, aside from Aaron Judge, who do you really have? Because they also lost Glaber too. Like who? Like Austin Wells.
I mean, you still got Volpe, you got Jazz, you got Stanton. You have your core, to say the least. You still got your 4 guys you can build around Judge.
But I mean, you need to have like a more balanced lineup, and the Yankees don't have that. It's like Aaron Judge, who's a superstar, and then you got like other like kind of just like average at best hit, like slightly above average at best.
Cody and Paul Goldschmidt. So those are very good bats right there too, and especially with the short porch, like Cody hitting it to right field, is gonna enjoy that. He's gonna have a great time hitting. It's just like Wrigley, I mean, I say it just like Wrigley, but it's smaller in hindsight. But he's gonna have a great time hitting in Yankee Stadium for sure.
This is my Astros bias talking. I think people are sleeping on the Astros because you still have to remember this Astros team is so experienced. They've been in this situation so many times. You cannot bet against them.
It didn't help last year bringing in Josh Hader.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, all I'm saying is he's notoriously known for choking in the playoffs. I've seen it happen firsthand.
That is true. That is true.
Look up his playoff stats. I'm telling you.
2019 and 2021 definitely ring a bell with that narrative.
Oh yeah. Well, that's all I think we got for today on this episode, and our very first episode as well. Thank you guys for watching so much. Once again, my name is Tyler. I got my best friend here, Nathan. We are Around the Diamond, and thank you for watching.